We are live. It's Dr. J in the house with Evan Brand. Today, we're going to be talking about improving sleep quality to help with mood and energy. We try to nuance this. We talk about a lot of these topics, but we're trying to connect them a little bit more together and really talk about the root cause, physiological imbalances, the biochemical imbalances that are driving this, and what you can do about it. Evan, my man, how you doing today?
Hey, doing well. I actually slept pretty good. I do use an Aura ring as much as I can. I will try and track different experiments. So I will try passion flower plus motherwort, plus
Hmm.
CBN, plus extra
Hmm.
magnesium Epsom salt bath. So I like to play
Hmm.
with it and just see what helps me. I do notice that if I get less than 10,000 steps a day, my sleep quality is not as good. So I do try to, even if
Hmm.
it's at night, put the kids to bed, go for a walk if I didn't really get my goal. I don't focus too much on the numbers, but I can just kind of feel in my body, have I worked my physical body enough to rest and get good rest? If the answer is no, my sleep quality is not as good. And I've suffered from sleep issues for many, many years. And I think a lot of it was related to Lyme for me and probably mold,
Yeah.
because if you look at the literature on mold and Lyme, they both affect the brain and basically just you're never getting that deep rest that you need. And so if you just PubMed, ChatGPT, whatever you want, Lyme sleep issues, you're going to find it. And sometimes it affects body temperature. So you could wake up with
Yep.
night sweats, you could wake up with dizziness, you could wake up with headaches. There's a lot to unpack here, but that's at least my 2 cents, my personal experience with it.
100%. So let's talk about some of the low hanging fruit here out of the gate. So, one of the easiest things we can do to improve sleep quality is magnesium. Magnesium is one of those nutrients. CDC, lots of studies show over 50% of the population have low magnesium levels. And almost 50% of older adults, guess what, have sleep issues. I'm not sure there's a direct correlation with that, but magnesium is one of those things where it shows to objectively improve ISI scores, type of assessment on sleep. So we see that significantly. So magnesium has a sedating, relaxing effect. It relaxes the heart. It's a natural beta blocker. It can provide sedation. It can totally chill you out. It's very anti-inflammatory. It crosses the blood-brain barrier. So if you have excess glutamate and or just hyperthinking, it can totally relax the brain. We may also combine that with NAC, which can help with the glutamate as well, which you see a high level of glutamate and OCD type of issues, ruminating thoughts. So I'm a big fan of NAC and magnesium. These are very helpful. And then we can always add in our inhibitory neurotransmitters with it. We can add in theanine and or GABA as a way to kind of calm down that brain, hit the gas pedal or hit the brake so we can slow everything down. So magnesium is a big one. And again, why are we low in magnesium? We're low in it for a couple of reasons. One, our soil and just food has less in it. People are eating more processed food, so we actually use it up. When we eat a bunch of processed food, we need magnesium in that Krebs cycle to actually manage that glucose, to manage that processed sugar. And when we do that, it actually takes more magnesium than we get in when we eat processed food. So we go into debt, we go into nutritional debt. And then also just stress will cause us to use more magnesium too. And so we don't get enough of it. So supplementing a good magnesium malate or glycinate is going to be great. There's some cheaper ones like a citrate, which is still okay. You may see it in a natural calm. Oxides used more for motility. And then you may also see like a threonate that crosses the blood-brain barrier more. But my two favorite and my magnesium supreme are a malate, which plugs more into the Krebs cycle, and then glycinate, which binds a molecule of glycine, that's in bone broth or collagen, to help carry that magnesium in.
Love it. And the soil's depleted too. We've looked at some
Yep.
maps in previous
Senate document
episodes.
264
Yeah.
talks about that.
It's
Yep.
wild how deficient the soil is. You could just type in a USA magnesium deficiency map and look at the soil. We've lost estimated 80% of our magnesium in the last 100 years. So even if you're eating organic, you could still be magnesium deficient. And you and I have some friends that are in the nutrition space and friends in the health space. And some people are kind of anti supplement. They just think that diet is going to fix everything. And it's not. You really do need these supplemental things. And to those people, I always pose the question, do you want to survive or do you want to thrive? And in the modern world, with the toxins we're exposed to, from microplastics to pesticides to EMF to mold toxicity and 85% of commercial buildings, according to the EPA, we have an onslaught of things that are affecting our ability to be calm and relax. And so for me, magnesium is a daily. And then also, we should hit cortisol. I mean, we could do a whole sleep cortisol podcast if you want, but we have done thousands, probably 10,000 plus now at this point between us both in the last decade or more of cortisol panels. And we do see people that have what would be called an inverse cortisol pattern, where your cortisol can be too high at night and too low in the morning. So you wake up tired, you got to run for the coffee. Don't talk to me until I get my coffee. I've seen people wear those t-shirts. Those are folks that typically have low cortisol in the morning, but then it could be high at night. So they're wired from their blue light. They're wired from their murder television shows. They're wired from negative news they're reading at 9 p.m. on the couch. They're scrolling. Their brain's just too hyperstimulated. And so we could use specific herbs, botanicals, nutrients to try and bump that cortisol down at night and then bring it up in the morning. So we do a little bit of that play of calming at night, raising in the morning, and that can be done with various herbs.
I'm going to pull up one study here because I want to make the connection here. So in the Pharmacy Times, right, July 2020, half of Americans are magnesium deficient.
I bet
And what
it's
they're doing
more.
is,
I
yeah,
bet it's
and
90%,
it's probably
man.
even more because here's the deal. They're just basing it off of intake. So magnesium is the fourth most abundant mineral in the human body, and they're just looking at how much people take in, right? So males need 420. And again, is this to thrive? Is this to function optimally? Or is this just to kind of starve off symptoms or disease? Because those are two different goalposts. Women need 320, and I would say it depends on, we're talking menopausal women that are stressed, women that are pregnant. A lot of these situations change based on stress, activity, what's going on in your life. And then right here, only 50% of that, meaning as much as half of the total population, is magnesium deficient, according to the study. And they're basing it off of what they're getting in their diet, right? The fact that they may be getting less than these amounts by just looking at what they're eating. And then also, really cool thing here, vitamin D cannot be metabolized without sufficient magnesium levels. Now, why is that important? Well, because there's another study here we'll pull up in a second, vitamin D and sleep regulation. So we actually know vitamin D plays a really, really important role with sleep regulation. So daily oral vitamin D3 a day in a long-term hospital patient. Insight from, so they talk about vitamin D here in this study actually being very helpful for sleep. Now, part of it is this, right? Why? Because with sleep, vitamin D is very important for immune regulation. All right. It's very important for circadian rhythm because natural vitamin D means you're out in the sun, right? And so when you get out in the sun in the early morning hours, you hit the reset button on your circadian rhythm. So your brain knows, hey, I'm going to be ready for sleep in 10, 12 hours. And so it's a reset for the circadian rhythm. Also, vitamin D is very anti-inflammatory on the brain. It really helps with the immune system. That calms the immune system down and then helps with brain inflammation. If you can relax the brain, you're more likely to get deeper sleep. So magnesium plays a crucial role with vitamin D. Vitamin D plays a crucial role with their circadian rhythm. And we know circadian rhythm, when cortisol comes down at night, guess what happens? Melatonin goes up. And so if we keep that cortisol going high due to too much stress, we know magnesium brings cortisol down. We know ashwagandha can. Different adaptogens, we could talk about it. We could talk about holy basil, talk about schisandra. We could talk about passion flower, lemon balm. We could talk about skullcap, California poppy, hops. These are all great herbs that we'll use in different tinctures to promote relaxation. I always go to nutrients first, magnesium, theanine, GABA. I'll go to cofactors to make the brain nutrients. B6 is vital. I'll go to 5-HTP and tryptophan. I'll go to those things first, and then we'll go to the sedating, relaxing, sleep-promoting herbs next.
Oh, man. So what we did not cover yet, which we should definitely at least bring up, a paper came out on Ambien, and they found out that Ambien reduces the blood flow, this whole washing of the brain. You could just type in like
Mm,
Ambien sleep study and you'll find it. It was I think it was a
mm,
mouse study, but the glymphatic system, which is helping to clear the brain of toxins, was
yes.
reduced by 30% due to Ambien. And the researchers in the study indicated that this could be linked to increased risk of neurodegenerative diseases, because if you're on a medication like this for sleep that's reducing your brain's ability to clear toxins, the toxins are building up in the brain, creating brain cell death. So if you just type in like Ambien 30% glymphatic system, you'll see it. So I'm saying glymphatic with a G, like Gary. So folks listening, not lymphatic, that's your
Yep.
lymphatic system, but your glymphatic with a G, That's the system that helps to clear out the brain. And this is being disrupted by these sleep medications, particularly Ambien. And so if you are on trazodone or lorazepam or some other pharmaceutical, we really have to get to the root cause here and get you off of these pharmaceuticals, because there are negative side effects long term, especially for the brain health now with this new paper. And I mean, duh, right? There's always a side effect of these pharmaceuticals. And most people that are on those report to me that it's not quality sleep anyway. They feel that they wake up tired, they're not fully rested, they feel that they still have brain fog, anxiety, depression. So even if they are getting, quote, drugged to sleep, they're still not feeling that good.
Yeah, let me pull this study up here. I got one study that kind of correlates on that. But again, when you look at these studies, you have to see going to sleep is not the same as going through, phase one, phase two, phase three, four of sleep, because those deeper three and four, that's where your REM, your rapid eye movement happens. And that's where you really have that better repair of sleep. So this is looking at here, zolpidem is Ambien and side effects of brain circulation. And so it's just talking about here MRA, that's a MRI of the brain arterioles, and it's talking a source of microvascular lesions found in the brain. It's talking about perfusion was detected after comprehensive evaluation. Zolpidem, that's Ambien, could reduce cerebral perfusion in various vascular territories. So it's definitely decreasing blood flow in the brain. We know gluten also can decrease blood flow in the brain. So the frontal cortex, we know there's gluten studies on migraines that do the exact same thing.
You know how many people
Interesting.
have migraines too, and they can't sleep because of their migraines, but they're eating gluten. I'm like, oh, I have migraines. I can't sleep. It's like, well, you had sourdough bread. Yeah, it's less gluten, but it still has gluten.
Yeah. Right here, it seems that patients who take zolpidem with higher than therapeutic doses, vascular complications and decreased cerebral perfusion have occurred, resulting in more neurological complications, including cognitive disorders and vascular events. So, all we're saying here is this: if you're going to be on a sleep medication from your conventional doctor, it's fine. Just make sure you have a solution and an on ramp to get off it and get to the root cause, because you always rob from Peter to pay Paul when you have these type of issues. There's always going to be a side effect, and you're not getting deeper sleep, you're not getting the restoration, and you're not fixing the underlying cause. And so we're just saying, look at some of the root underlying issues that we're talking about. Look at the circadian rhythm. Look at getting light. Look at getting vitamin D. Look at magnesium. Magnesium is important, vitamin D. Also, the glymph, that's the microglial cells and the lymphatic system of the brain. So the glial cells are the main immune cells in the brain. And so the more we can clean out that immune debris, that's only going to help your brain function better and perform better the next day.
Yeah. And folks that are wearing like blue blocking glasses, you're making your iPhone screen red at night, stuff like that. Cool. Good job on the lighting environment. Like that's very important.
Yep.
We evolved in an environment where there was not light pollution like we have now. However,
Correct.
there's so many people that are buying these fancy blue blocking glasses. I've seen some on sale for $179 for these blue blockers, which are no different than like a $9 pair of blue blockers on Amazon. However, they're still reporting sleep issues. And so if you've done the as you called it, the low hanging fruit, the blue light blockers and all of that, and you're still not sleeping well, it's time to investigate deeper. We may want to look at heavy metals. We may want to look at Lyme and co-infections that disrupt sleep. We may want to look at mold toxicity, which we know affects melatonin production. We may want to look at the gut bacteria, parasites that could be more active, especially if you or your children are noticing you're not sleeping well during a full moon. That's also a good clue for us.
And look at this too. We talk about blood sugar as being really important, but if you look right here, in addition to consuming high protein diet with essential amino acids, low glycemic index foods and certain rich fruits and antioxidants can all contribute to better sleep quality. So we know proteins are really important. Why? Because your neurotransmitters that help you sleep, guess what? They're made from protein, right? We got L-tryptophan converts to 5-hydroxytryptophan, which converts to serotonin, which converts to melatonin. We need certain nutrients and cofactors like B6 and aromatic decarboxylase enzymes that involve calcium and vitamin C and other B vitamins, and the methylation, B12 and folate. So we want those to be in there, but also keeping the glycemic food. So not overly carbing it can be a big deal, because if we're doing too much carbs at night, that could be overly stimulating. But if our blood sugar is up and down because we're doing too much processed carbs and it's causing our blood sugar to go into these reactive hypoglycemic events, that can be very stimulating. When your blood sugar drops, that can cause cortisol and adrenaline to pick you up and wake you up. And so that can be a big thing there too.
It's this is easy stuff once you've done it thousands of times.
Yep.
I won't say my sleep is perfect. My wife sleeps better than me, but I would argue she has less stress than me. She's not dealing with the clinical load, the clinical
Hmm.
work, and the processing of everything we're processing. So
Hmm.
she sleeps better than me, which I'm jealous of sometimes. But overall, I would say my sleep is better than it was many, many years ago. And a lot of people assume that as you get older, sleep quality declines, which there are some hormonal changes there. There's obviously postmenopausal women are reporting issues with sleep, but this can be improved. This can be remedied. So I don't think if your doctor says you're just getting older, I would not go with that answer.
Yeah, sleep helps with memory. It helps with healing the brain. It helps with growth hormone. You're going to have your maximal growth hormone output between 10 p.m. and 2 a.m. So you want to get to bed before that 10, 11 o'clock window so you can really tap into that healing, those healing moments, if you will. And then 2 a.m. to 6 a.m., that's where you're going to really have a lot of psychogenic, neurogenic repair. And protein's important because a lot of the supplements we may use may be 5-HTP based, maybe amino acid based to help improve the building blocks of your neurotransmitters. Some people may want to give melatonin. My general recommendation is be careful when you're giving a hormone like that, or if you give it in a very small amount. Typically, your body secretes, let's see here, about 200 to 300 micrograms of melatonin a night. So most melatonin comes in 3 milligrams, which is 10 times more than you make. So you got to be careful in how you dose it. I always rather microdose and give what the body normally makes, number one. And just try to do it more as a reset coming off of the weekend or coming off of traveling. Try not to use melatonin as the go to. It's fine if you need it because I'd rather have you sleep, but try to go for the nutrients that help the brain, help the inflammation first. Do all the diet and lifestyle things, and then go to some of those relaxing herbs that help with the GABA chloride channels and with the circadian rhythm and the cortisol. We can be doing things like phosphatidylcholine and ashwagandha. I mentioned some of my other favorite ones like skullcap and passion flower and lemon balm and valerian root and hops and California poppy. These are some of my favorite ones to really promote good relaxation.
Yeah, let me do a screen share real quick here. There's a cool paper. I've tried some CBN. Can you pull this one up?
Yeah, where are you at here? Here it is. Doot, doot, doot.
So this one's pretty cool. This is double blind, randomized, placebo controlled study, safety and effects of CBN with and without CBD on sleep quality. This is June 2024. Participants got 20 milligrams of CBN, or they got 20 milligrams of CBN with 10 milligrams CBD, or 20 and 20, or even 20 CBN, 100 CBD, 18 to 55 uh, let's see, 18 to 55 years of age. They self rated their sleep quality as very poor or poor. Now, what they're saying here, individuals receiving 20 milligrams CBN demonstrated reduced nighttime awakenings and overall sleep disturbance, no impact on daytime fatigue. So I think this is helpful. I mean, it's good to find papers on this stuff. Like here's one on severe insomnia. This was a cannabidiol for moderate severe insomnia, 150 milligrams, which is pretty high. They're saying here, similar to placebo. Interesting. So what I'm kind of finding, like in the cannabis world, the CBD, the CBNs, the CBGs, it seems like without a little bit of THC, like 1 to 3 milligrams, you don't really get that much benefit. And there's some researchers saying that a low dose THC, like 1 milligram, which typically you're not even going to feel or get a psychoactive effect from, that the THC is almost the activator. And so if you've tried CBD, I know there's some legality issues in certain states still, but if you've been disappointed by that, you're buying like your convenience store CBD and you're disappointed, you got to get something professional grade, professional quality. And if you're in a state where you have a medical or recreational program, if you get a low dose, like a one, what you can find is like a 1 to 10 ratio. So it'll be like 1 milligram THC to 10 milligrams CBD. Those are pretty widely available. You're not really going to have any psychoactive effects at all, but the sleep could and should be much, much better. And that would help, especially if you had cognitive issues, if you had dementia, Parkinson's, Alzheimer's, Lyme, mold, like whatever the heck's burdening you, that should help. And side effect profiles way lower than Ambien.
Yeah, that makes sense. Let me pull more study here. All right, so this is that same study here looking at sleep. couple things I want to highlight. It talks about poor digestion leads to worse sleep quality, and be careful with too much food intake right before bed. And so this is a double-edged sword. You don't want a big meal before bed, but sometimes if people have blood sugar issues, right, their blood sugar is a little bit crashing at night, maybe waking up. Sometimes a little bit of a liquid meal or a little bit of a smoothie or a little bit of magnesium powder mixed with some glycine, maybe a little bit of coconut milk, a small amount, and you can do it an hour before bed so you have time to pee and stuff. But that can be helpful for blood sugar stability. But be careful with big meals because that can lead to worse sleep quality.
I agree with
And then,
that. I did.
consuming a major portion of calories at night alters microbiota to a pro-inflammatory state, which can impact circadian rhythm as well.
That's pretty wild. I did 40
Mhm.
grams of protein powder last night, just a grass-fed whey protein last night,
Yep.
maybe an hour before I went to bed. I definitely think it helps me just to not feel so catabolic when I wake up. Jeremy
Yep.
commented in the chat, I've been detoxing from mold for 3 months. My sleep has improved 50%. I believe it. I believe
And
it.
also with mold detox, a lot of times your liver and gallbladder are dumping a lot of these mold toxins at night. And so it's good to have some kind of a binder in before bed so you can soak up some of these toxins. Because if these toxins get liberated and then they can go into different parts of the body because now they're being dumped out. Think of the binder as like putting a straitjacket or handcuffs on that mold. So I do like that. Also, one other thing here, it talks about time restricted eating, talks about people that start to get overweight. Let's see, where is it? I had it right here. So it talked here about
Yeah, obesity and
sleep.
sleep in that next paragraph is talking obesity and
Yeah,
sleep
yeah,
connection.
obesity and sleep. Basically, it's talking about how sleep plays a major role with ghrelin and leptin resistance, and it
Makes
helps you make better food choices.
Yeah, there you go. Short towards the bottom. Short sleep is associated with increased
Yes, yep,
ghrelin,
there it is.
decreased
Decreased
leptin.
leptin, leading to more hunger and less satiation, leading to increased calorie intake. And so, if we're eating bad foods, then that perpetuates more poor sleep because we know insulin resistance and sleep apnea, the correlation is really strong, right? And so, the more insulin resistant you are, the more insulin you're making, that's going to inflame not only your vasculature, it's also going to inflame your airways. And so, they're going to recommend a CPAP, which is a pressurized air being pushed into the sinus cavity, into the throat to keep it open. But the reason why it's closing and you're not breathing is typically because of inflammation, right? Inflammation is what's driving it. And again, sleep plays a major role with ghrelin, leptin. These are the hormones that tell you to be satiated. And the more satiated you are, guess what happens? You make better food choices, right? This is why it's not all about willpower because different foods control different satiation points in the brain. And the more satiated you are, the more willpower you bring to the table to make better food choices. Those foods then perpetuate the nutrients you need for good circadian rhythm, good sleep, good relaxation, and decrease inflammation too.
Yep, well said. Well, we got to wrap this up, but if
Yep.
people need help clinically, feel free to reach out. We'd be happy to investigate whether that's on the hormone side, investigating cortisol, on the gut side, Lyme, mold. We do it all. We have a wide range of toolbox options available in regards to the functional labs, heavy metals too. So, mercury, lead, if you have silver fillings in your mouth, heavy metal toxicity, I've seen that negatively impact sleep, especially in children. I work with a lot of kids. The parents report that these are kids that have typically had injections. They'll say, "Hey, they're a little more stimmy. They're stimming. They're overstimulated." And so, usually, when we give a little bit of detox support, kids do much better once we detox them, and that helps with molds, pesticides, whatever toxin you're exposed to. So, justinhealth.com is the website. If you want to reach out to Dr. J, you can get consults worldwide. Lab testing is available. Myself, evanbrand.com. So Justin Health, evanbrand.com. Reach out to us. Let us know how we can help you. There's always an option to book an intro call if you want to just ask some questions, get clarification. But we should be able to help you get to the bottom of this. And usually sleep issues are one thing that spirals out of control. So as you mentioned, sleep issues creating bad food choices creating insulin problems creating sleep apnea creating cardiovascular disease, creating heart attacks, erectile dysfunction. So you see how this thing can spiral out of control.
Yeah, so very interesting here. Look at this one on study on tryptophan. It's a case study. Tryptophan dose at 1 gram taken 45 minutes before bedtime will decrease the time to fall asleep in those with mild insomnia and those with long sleep latency. So I like that. It's always good to have things that are not medications, that are non-addictive, and that aren't going to sedate you the next day. So it's great to have good nutrients like that. And
Yep.
B vitamins play an important role because you may need some B vitamins or may need to be taking enough a B complex during the day to get enough B6 and folate and B12 as well, just to, in case your diet's pretty poor.
Yep.
But yeah, I love it. I think we're on the right track. So evanbrand.com to reach out to Evan, Justin Health, com. Reach out to Dr. J here. We're here to help you guys if you need to dive in. Testing we may look at a cortisol rhythm to see how your circadian rhythm is doing, because blood sugar and as well as cortisol play a relationship with melatonin. We may also look at gut, because if we have gut issues, we may not be absorbing the nutrients. And we may also look at just, simple old diet and lifestyle things we can do. And also there's a lot of first line therapies that we've come across over the last 10, 15 years, supplement wise. We kind of mentioned some today, and then how we would execute that would be specific based off of clinical presentation, and some of the labs too would help.
Yep. Awesome. Well, hey, reach out. We're happy to help you guys, and we'll be back in touch real soon.